as you recall, the United States Congress recently voted to fund Israel's Iron Dome. Again, because usually Israel gets $3.8 billion per year in military assistance. And after slaughtering Palestinians in May, their Iron Dome was empty and needed to be replenished. And so the United States Congress rushed to give Israel another $1 billion before even dealing with the government spending bill. Because as you know, sending billions of dollars to Israel for their military is much more important and a higher priority than dealing with your own constituents, right? You'll never see American politicians rush to draft a bill, a standalone bill, to give you health care. They'll drop dead before they do that, right? They'd sooner die than give you health care and put in the same kind of energy for you. And so recently, this standalone bill passed, 420 in favor, 9 against. The people who voted against it, one of them was a Republican, the other 8 were Democrats. Most of them, so-called progressives. They call themselves progressives. The squad, right? And as you remember, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, New York congresswoman, she switched her vote at the last second from no to present. And then she shed these crocodile tears on the House floor, and she put out some stinking press release, which, I mean, this is such a cringy word salad. It's horrific. I'll read it to you in a second. Well, actually, no, I'm not going to put you through that. I'm not making you suffer. I'm going to play you a clip. She was asked by Mahdi Hassan why she voted president. Let's take a look, all right?
It's something that has been obviously very difficult, but
the question,
that is what happened that day.
Congresswoman, the question that a lot of people asked me to ask you this is, was it worth doing present? Because it didn't really satisfy anyone. The supporters of Israel are mad at you for not voting for it. Critics of Israel are mad at you for not voting against it. Do you regret that?
You know, it is something that I weigh, because there's always the macro and then there's the micro. And in the macro of narrative, of politics, of national impact, you know, I probably should have just gone with my value. But in the macro, which would be to vote no. But in the micro, I do believe that this created a window in our community to be able to bring all folks to the table, because my great fear is that we are going to import the same sort of contention around this issue, and we can have a progressive movement that defends Palestinian human rights, that is Muslim, Christian, Jewish. So in the micro, I believe that it created a window of opportunity for us in the Bronx. But in the macro, it was very difficult, yes.
What the fuck is she saying? Did she just swallow a dictionary? Yeah, you know, the micro, macro, microscope, the window, community, desk, chair, computer, camera. Yeah, progressive. Yes, we're going to come together at the table. What the fuck is she saying? What was this bullshit answer? She still didn't explain why you voted present. What is she talking about? And then her... this is even worse, right? Actually, I'm not sure which is worse. This is the press release that she put out a few days after, right? Again, just no explanation. She says she's going to explain why she voted present, but there's no explanation. It's just bullshit. Oh God, she sounds so bad. She sounds like, you know, every typical politician trying to get out of a question about Palestine and why they are supporting the apartheid regime. It would have been better if she had said nothing. It would have been better for her to keep her mouth shut than say that. What is wrong with these politicians? Why are they so spineless? She used to say it's a massacre. She used to go on Twitter and she'd criticize the Israelis. How can they shoot people? How can they shoot Palestinians? It's a massacre. And now, oh, well, you know, there's the micro and the macro. And no, it's really simple. Like, do you oppose the Israeli occupation of Palestine or not? It's really that simple. It's a dead simple question. It's so easy. It's one of the easiest things in politics to understand. You have settler colonizers and you have people who are colonized. It's that simple. It's that dead easy. But of course, she has to give this bullshit answer, right? And she wants to bring all these people to the table. Who do you want to bring to the table? You want to bring people like Netanyahu to the table, like Bennett? What exactly do they have to say? Yes, we think that we should be able to kill Palestinians and steal their homes. What, you want to debate the occupation? You want to see like how, if it's a bit bad or kind of bad? No, it's a fucking occupation. What debate do you need to understand about this issue? So do you see how they slapped her up? Before, she was criticizing the Israelis, and then, she gets into office, and her peers, her superiors, whoever, they start slapping her up. They're like, no, you need to shut your mouth. You can't talk like that about Israel. Especially, not just as a U.S. politician, especially from New York. Right? You can't do that. Supporting Israel is in your job description. And so she then starts saying, oh, well, maybe I don't understand this so much. Like, I need to read more about this. Like, again, it's so complicated, right? You're a fucking congresswoman. What do you mean? How do you not know about this? You need to study it more? You knew perfectly what was happening before. And now she's like, well, there's the micro and the macro. And there's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Oh my God, this word salad. I can't tell if that was worse or this was worse. Do you remember this other word salad over here?
What actions do you think can be taken to support movements towards peace, both between Israelis and Palestinians, as well as within the entire region, such as the Abraham Accords?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, earlier just now, you and I were talking about the what and the how.
Yes.
And I think that when we talk about establishing peace, centering people's humanities, protecting people's rights, it's not just about the what and the end goal, which often gets a lot of focus. But I actually think it's much more about the how and the way.
Yo, I'm going to put you out of your misery. I'm going to stop this right here. I can't stand it. I can't stand this shit. It's worse than a regular politician, because the regular politician, they'll wiggle out of the question another way, but she's trying to sound like really, hip and like she gets it, and like there's the where, and it's more about the how, and it's so bad. It's so bad. Here, I want to play something else. Don't worry, I won't torture you too much. Here's Jamal Bowman. So Jamal Bowman, he voted for the Iron Dome, right? You have to understand something, ma'am. Jamal Bowman, he stole his seat from Elliot Abrams. Elliot Abrams is one of AIPAC, so the Zionist lobby, the Israeli lobby. He's one of their top guys in the U.S. Congress. So you can't unseat Elliot Abrams and then not support Israel. So this bullshit that he supports, I'm for two-state solution, complete nonsense. Iron Dome funding, he voted for it. The $3.8 billion for Israel, he voted for it. So did Ilhan Omar. So did Ayanna Pressley. Right? I think that's far worse than AOC's present vote. Didn't get anywhere near the same amount of attention. Ilhan Omar just gave Israel $3 billion. I'm the only one who talked about it, apparently. I didn't see anyone mention this. Unreal. Anyway, I'm just going to play you the clip from Bowman. Also, Mehdi Hassan, same show, asked him the same question.
Congressman, before we run out of time, I have to ask, you have been a very passionate and eloquent critic of Israel's occupation, including in interviews with me. Last week, we had this big controversial vote in the House over whether to fund Israel's Iron Dome aerial threat system to the tune of $1 billion. It's already funded. It was an extra billion. Your squad colleagues, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley, voted no. AOC controversially voted present. But you voted yes. How come?
Well, it's important for me to...
Well, Mehdi, I'm a Zionist bitch.
make sure I represent everyone within my district, not just some people within my district. And this was an issue that was very important to many people in my district. But secondly, voting in favor...
Okay, hold on a second. What does that mean? This is an important issue to people in my district. Where is your district? In Haifa or in New York? Are you an Israeli congressman or a U.S. congressman? What the fuck does that mean? Giving $1 billion, giving $5 billion to a foreign occupation force is important for your fucking district? Who lives in your district? What they say, when he says it's important for my district, he's not talking about his constituents. He's talking about the establishment. He's talking about his peers in Congress, his superiors like Pelosi, Biden. He's talking about the Israelis. That's who he's serving. You don't give a foreign occupation force billions of dollars for your constituents. Your constituents want fucking healthcare, I can tell you that much. Your constituents want some goddamn money. Your constituents want to live debt-free. They want to go to college. They don't give a fuck about funding Israel. What kind of a bullshit response is that? And, you know, I'm glad Mehdi Hassan asked them the question, but, you know, he left it to the end both times, right? It's like, oh yeah, you know, just before we go, how about that money you gave to the apartheid regime? Okay, thanks very much. Catch you next time. There's no follow-up, nothing. They just give this bullshit answer and then that's it. This is the squad. These are the progressives, right? And again, I mean, what Ilhan Omar did in July, that's way worse. That's way worse. She you know, every year they have to vote on it, even though Obama signed the memorandum of understanding for 10 years. So Israel gets 38 billion over 10 years, meaning every year 3.8 billion. They still have to vote for it every year. It still has to go through Congress. It passes every time, of course, right? This time, however, in July, it wasn't going to pass. It was neck and neck. It passed 217, 212. You know, the squad, they easily could have held this up. They could have put their foot down and said, no, we're not voting for it. What do you think, we're going to give money to Israel? Are you crazy? No. They didn't do that. They went and gave money to Israel. They made sure. So they didn't just vote for it. They didn't just vote to give Israel money. They made sure Israel got the money, because without their votes, it couldn't have passed. It passed 217, 212. That's Ilhan Omar. That's Ayanna Pressley. That's Jamal Bowman. I'm a progressive. Really? How progressive of you. Thank you for giving Israel bombs to bomb Gaza, to bomb Syria. Well done. You are I can really see how your politics are rooted in human rights. You fucking bags of hot air. They're all talk, blah, blah, blah. All talk, just lip service. If you look at how they vote, criminals, villainous. And back then, AOC votes no, right? Because she can afford to vote no. Because she's like, okay, Ilhan Omar, Presley, Bowman, you guys vote yes. Me and Tlaib will vote no. I mean, I think Tlaib is going to vote no anyway because, you know, she's Palestinian. I would at least hope so, that she would do that. But she did. I mean, I would hope that she does that off of principle, not because it's kind of organized or coordinating. But my point is that they always do this rotating villain thing, right? So back then, in July, Ilhan Omar votes yes. Ayanna Pressley votes yes. Cori Bush votes yes. Now, in September, for the Iron Dome, they do it the other way around. Cori Bush votes no. Ayanna Pressley votes no. Ilhan Omar votes no. Because they know it's going to pass. It passed 420-9. So they can afford to vote no and look like, oh, you see, we're opposing Israel. We didn't fund their Iron Dome. Yeah, you're good. You're good. The fact that people can't wake up to this shit is staggering. This is staggering. You know, there's still people who have their heads stuck up so far the squad's ass. They're funding the murder of Palestinians, the occupation of Palestine, the occupation of Syria. What the fuck is wrong with you? What more proof do you need that these people are playing ball with the establishment? You know, AOC, she said once that you can effectuate far more change. You know, she said, so what if you're a one-term Congress person? You can effectuate far more change. You can effectuate 10 years worth of change if you're willing to be brave. And they're not willing to be brave because now they're in power. Power is very tempting, man. That shit is addictive, right? So you gotta think for them, they got all this attention, all this money, they got healthcare now, right? They're Congress people. They're as Ro Khanna said, they're a privileged percentile, right? Some of the most privileged individuals on the face of the earth. They don't want to give that up. And if that means, you know, playing ball with Israel, they do it. They do it. I'm not saying that. They voted that. They voted that. And so the fact that AOC cannot take a clear stance on a vote that is, you know, on a bill that's guaranteed to pass, as we said, it passed 420-9. This is very, very important to understand because when she does that, she's looking out for her career. It's nothing else, right? She's looking out for her career. And these people are not interested. AOC is not interested in being a one-term congressperson like she said. Not me. She said that. And effectuating change. She's interested in being a multi-term congressperson. She wants to stay there. She wants to be the next Nancy Pelosi. That's what this is about. And so regardless, I don't, we can speculate all day about what their goals are. For me, this is a very simple issue. If someone put a bill in front of my face and said, you got to vote to give Israel money, I'd say, go shove that thing up your ass. Apparently, they don't have the same energy. So we have an issue here. Do you understand? There you go. And again, that thing in July is far more scandalous and received less attention, which is bizarre to me. I mean, again, AOC's vote, the present vote is bad, but Ilhan Omar voting to give Israel, what the fuck? Don't you remember what they did to her, how much they smeared her? I guess it worked. I guess they got the message, the squad. They're like, oh, if we step out of line, they're going to shit on us. So we're not going to vote against Israel anymore. We might criticize them a bit, but when it comes down to voting, we will make sure that the bills pass. And again, it's not just with Palestine. You guys know, listen, you can't dispute this, okay? Go read this article and look at every single vote, how I outlined this. They didn't just do this with the Iron Dome or funding Israel. They did it with the $15 minimum wage. They did it with re-electing Nancy Pelosi. They did it with funding the Capitol Hill police. I counted the votes for you. I laid it out so clearly that anyone could understand this. Every single time. The squad they're not just voting against their stated principles, against the things they ran on. They're instrumental. They are making sure that these things pass. They are always casting the tie-breaking votes, right? Always. It's them. Go look at it. If you can't see that by now, I don't know what to tell you. And if you think you want to rationalize that and think that this is good behavior, I don't know what to tell you either. It's very clear whose side they're on.